Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm continuing my uh, list of favorite movie each year I've been alive, starting with 1983, the year I was born. I've covered the 80s and the 90s, and so now I'm going to go through each year in the 2000s and go over what movie I thought was the best coming out of that year. And again, these aren't necessarily like the big critic favorites of that year, and they're more just movies that I just love to watch over and over again. And there's some very serious movies that maybe are really good and I think were good, but I just have a hard time watching them because they're so hard to watch. For instance, let's say Saving Private Ryan, really well made movie. That's back in the 90s, I know, but really well made movie, but I can't watch that movie again. It's just too hard. Too what's the word? You know, I want to say gruesome. That's not the right word I want to say, but it's just just leaves you with a really bad image in your mind and gives you nightmares, in my opinion. Um, so some of these are just fun movies I just really love to watch over and over again. So they're just my opinion of my movies, personal movies that I really enjoy out of each year. So I'm going to start with 2000. And my favorite movie is actually my favorite Christmas movie, also of all time, and it's How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey there as the Grinch. Um, Obviously, it comes from Dr. Seuss's book, The Grinch or whatever, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It was made to a popular cartoon series or cartoon, kind of made for TV movie, a short movie that comes out every Christmas, and that's the one we look at the most. This one, a full-length live-action movie, which really expands on the story and kind of adds a lot more to it in order to make an actual movie out of it. And I thought they actually did a pretty good job. A lot of times you do this kind of adaptations, they turn out pretty bad, but this is one of the few times where I thought they did a really good job adapting a short story into a full-length movie, and give a lot to the screenwriters for writing a lot, because they deal with the backstory of the Grinch and how he comes to this kind of mean hates Christmas individual, and so they do a good job, I think, of doing the backstory of that. And really, it's just a hilarious movie. It's one of the funniest movies. I watch it at least once a year, of course, during Christmas, and it still makes me laugh so hard watching it. And Jim Carrey gives, I think, his best performance, which is odd because he's under so much makeup and the costuming of the Grinch. You can't even tell it's Jim Carrey, except for his mannerisms are still Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey's one of the top physical comedians of all time, and so his physical comedy comes out in the character even when he's under all that makeup. And the character is absolutely hilarious, and the writing is great. I don't know how much of that screenwriting, how much that could be Jim Carrey just improvising in scenes, maybe, as he does very well, or coming up with ideas. And directed by Ron Howard, who's known for some of his Oscar-worthy work, like Paul 13 and A Beautiful Mind. This is more of a fun movie for him, I think really well done. Like I said, makeup's really good, and everything, and the whole Whoville set's really nice anyways. And it's got a good Christmas, message, of, Christmas isn't about material goods, but about being with loved ones and all that, and being good to each other. So anyways, yeah, really excellent movie, really funny movie, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. My favorite movie easily of 2001. And as I'm going through these, I realized I really don't have too many Blu-rays of these movies. I don't know why I haven't. This is a decade where I haven't stocked up on the Blu-rays of my favorite movies, but eventually I'll get these movies on Blu-ray. But in 2001, favorite movie is another Ron Howard movie. I just now realized I got back-to-back Ron Howard movies, and this is A Beautiful Mind. Ron Howard's really, like, I see a lot of people give him a lot of flack, like he's not that good of a director, or the movies are fluff or something. But I think he's a really good director, and he's directed some of my favorite movies, as you can tell. But Beautiful Mind, excellent movie, won Best Picture that year. Russell Crowe gives a great performance. I think one of my favorite performances, because he has to be this, and it's based off a real life person who's suffering from schizophrenia, and he's a genius math professor. And it's kind of interesting seeing how he kind of slowly uh, gets worse and worse, and he sees things that aren't there. He sees people and interacts with people that don't exist, only he can see. And he doesn't realize that until later in the movie that these aren't real people that he's talking to. And watching Russell Crowe kind of go through that process, I thought it was a really good performance. I think my favorite performance of his in all his movies. And Russell Crowe doesn't do much now, but man, back in the 2000s, he was like top-notch actor. He was, to me, maybe the best actor working in that time period in 2000s. I mean, when he had Gladiator and Beautiful Mind back-to-back movies, and some other ones in there, it seemed like everything he did was Oscar type acting, and he was very well sought after. He kind of disappeared after a while, but anyway, still I think a very excellent movie and very interesting plot, and performances all around are really good. Anyway, so that's A Beautiful Mind, my favorite in 2001. 2002, my favorite movie is a kind of alien sci-fi movie that I love, called Signs. And it's, I think, the third movie of M. Night Shyamalan, who kind of got, famous after The Sixth Sense and making these kind of sci-fi thriller type movies. And he's got really good at least this time period. He's not so good anymore, but at this time I thought he was like the next Steven Spielberg, the way he directed movies and the way he was able to kind of scare you and give you kind of thrills throughout the movie. I thought he did an excellent job, and story-wise, he wrote all his movies. I thought he was excellent with dialogue and stories, and performances were really good. And I actually like this one better than The Sixth Sense, which is a decent movie itself, and it's got some iconic scenes in it. And Signs is a movie that I've heard a lot of people hate this movie, so it's really a movie that I feel like maybe I'm the only one who really loves this movie, but I still, the jump scares really work well, and the way the way stuff jumps at you, and the way the camera moves, and then you see something move, and you're like, oh my god, like I didn't see that. Like, he does a really excellent job with that. And I love Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix's performances, and the movie also has some really good humorous moments, surprisingly, that kind of help lighten the more scarier moments, I would say. And I actually really love the storyline of this. Used to be a priest, but I'm spoiling some of the movie, but he used to be a priest, but his wife dies in a car wreck, and then he stops being I say a priest, I don't know what exactly, because he has kids, so he's not a Catholic priest, but he's some kind of ministry, and he loses his faith in God after his wife dies, and then the whole movie kind of has him kind of gain his faith back in God. So as a Christian, I really enjoy that plot point of the whole movie anyways, and I thought a really well-made movie. Signs, it's my favorite movie of 2002. 2003, here I got this Blu-ray, one of the great fantasy movie classics now, Return of the King, Lord of the Rings. There's my extended edition. Obviously, the third movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and of course won tons of Oscars, including Best Picture, and it's finest movie making in fantasy, I think, ever. It's a great conclusion to the whole story of the Lord of the Rings, based off of the books, obviously, and just, yeah, everything about it is just incredible as far as the way they made the movie, the set designs, the special effects still work today, even 20-some years later, or about 20 years later, maybe 19 years later. The costuming, the makeup, is absolutely incredible still today. It's still like the finest I've ever seen. Cinematography, music is absolutely amazing. And then it's just a really great story with some really great action sequence. One of the best battle sequences ever seen at the Battle of Gondor. Anyway, so yeah, if you like fantasy movies, this has got to be the top of your list, and it's top of my list in 2003, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. 2004, one of my favorite musicals actually made my top of this year, and that is The Phantom of the Opera, which I don't know if it gets that much love. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorite musicals, and a lot of that's because the music is by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Is absolutely amazing. And I'm a big fan of musicals, so that's why I got here. I remember when I saw the movie in the theater, I didn't really know that much about Phantom of the Opera as far as music-wise. I knew it was a famous Broadway musical or London musical, and going into it, I was just blown away by the singing. All the actors did their own singing. and the music, everything was just so beautiful. I mean, so many great songs. Of course, Music of the Night, one of the best ones on there. Of course, Phantom of the Opera, Point of No Return, Masquerade, all just absolutely amazing songs. It's just like one amazing song after another. It seems like it's more singing than dialogue, which I'm not used to. I'm used to see a musical. There's more of a lot of more dialogue going on. Then you'll cut to a musical here and there. Well, this one kind of, and I've seen other movies kind of do it this way, and I kind of like it actually, where it seems like there's a little bit of dialogue, but then there's a lot of singing. And if you have a lot of great music, if you don't, it's not going to be a good musical. But the music's amazing, like this one. I mean, I enjoy every singing, every song that they sing. Sounds great. Story-wise, maybe not the best, but I guess as far as music goes, it just, as soon as I saw this movie, I went out and bought the soundtrack and listened to it tons. It's one of the most listened soundtracks for me. Just in that, and first movie I ever saw, Gerard Butler, and it kind of as the Phantom, whatever, and he kind of went on to have a pretty good career in movies. As a, you can do action, very good for action movies, but does a little bit of everything. And I thought he gave a really good performance as the Phantom in the movie. Yeah, it's still a movie I just really enjoy. 2005. One of my favorite superhero movies actually made the top of the list for me, and that is Batman Begins, the first of the Chris Nolan trilogy with what's his name, Christian Bale as Batman, which is, I would say this is my favorite Batman movie, which is probably surprising. A lot of people would say The Dark Knight is the best of the Batman series, but I actually like Batman Begins more. And I love it as an origin story because it really explains how Batman becomes Batman, how Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. And we've seen the story over and over again, of course, with or seen it kind of told somewhat with other Batman movies or hinted at. But this is the only one that really, really see like how he goes from just a billionaire, guy who wants to, kind of goes off and learns how to become a ninja, and comes back and uses all this technology to become Batman. I mean, to see that journey is done so well. And Christian Bale, I think, is still my favorite Batman. I think he does a really great job. He's got the physicality and great actor, one of the best actors working today. And, he's got that great Batman voice, that he kind of almost invented and we always use now for Batman. Batmans now always have a Batman voice. And but overall, a really great cast. And Liam Neeson, I don't want to say what he is, but he's in it. Michael Caine, some really great actors. Overall, I think really well done. Action's really well done. Anyways, and a really good overall story. Cillian Murphy's great as the Scarecrow, as kind of a minor villain. Anyway, so yeah, definitely one of my favorite superhero movies and one of the best origin stories I've seen out of superhero movies. 2006, it's a comedy. I don't think I have too many comedies. I had a Grinch Stole Christmas, I could say it's a comedy. Groundhog Day, when I talked about the 90s, but one of my favorite comedies, one of the funniest movies ever, made my top of this 2006, and that is Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, which is a Will Ferrell-led movie, and John C. Reilly co-stars, Adam K., Drex, and MK, and Will Ferrell kind of I think they did 5 movies together maybe, where they co-wrote the movies and Adam K. directed, and so they've done really well with this, and they have kind of a similar cast in the movies, and it's a absolutely hilarious movie about race car driving, and Will Ferrell playing Ricky Bobby, this race car driver, and John C. Reilly is his best friend, shake and bake, great line. And just every scene just has one funny thing after another. I mean, if I just go on pure laughs, like I laugh almost constantly during this movie. Story-wise, it's like, it's not as important in these kind of movies, but it's just how many jokes can you throw at me? And this throws out so many funny bits after bits. And Will Ferrell's at the top of his game at this point. And John C. Reilly is so good. I didn't realize how funny he was until I saw this movie. Now I always like any movie that he's in. I'm like, yeah, I want to see John C. Reilly because I thought he was really good in this role. And I feel like because of Adam K. and Will Ferrell have this Saturday Night Live background. I don't know. They have somewhat of improv background. really great cast overall. I mean, you have a lot of good actors here, a lot of funny actors, even some serious actors come in and do a good job. But you can tell they're improvising scenes. They'll do a scene and sometimes they'll do a couple bits during the scene and you just go, I know that must have been improvised. They must have came up with that. I don't see how they could have came up with that on the script, written it down. They must have just were doing the scene and they came up with these ideas. And I just imagine that's why Will Ferrell probably works and Adam McKay works anyways. And those improv scenes are just the funniest things ever. So yeah, so Talladega Nights, one of my favorite comedies. Favorite movie of 2006. 2007 is a movie called The Kingdom. If you haven't heard, it's kind of deals with these four FBI kind of agents that go to Saudi Arabia to investigate a terrorist attack on an American compound of people that live there. And an FBI agent dies that's a friend, so they go to investigate. And of course, they're under strict rules because they're in Saudi Arabia, so they have to obey by Saudi Arabia rules. And they're trying to find the terrorist who's been doing this. And Jamie Foxx, kind of the main character, really great performance by him. Jason Bateman, I'm forgetting, I didn't write down all the names, but four main actors, really good. And it has some great action sequences. The last action sequence when they have to go through this apartment complex kind of, and they have to go from room to room and they're being shot at. I mean, just really amazingly edited. I would say really great edited. The action is really well done. Very suspenseful, really good suspense where you're like, man, these people might die. They're in so much danger in this situation. I thought very well done, directed by Peter Berg. I thought one of his finest directions. I thought he did a really good job with this. Also has a lot of good humor in it. It's one that I always love, a good action or suspense movie that can also put in some humor every once in a while that just kind of catches off guard. And so I love the combination of that, the humor and the suspense. But really well directed movie and very well paced, and kind of a surprise movie for me. But I really love this movie, The Kingdom. Favorite movie 2007. 2008, another favorite action movie of mine, and that is Taken with Liam Neeson there as the lead. And I just love the whole plot of the movie. Guy's retired, not that it hasn't been done before, but you have this guy, he's a retired CIA guy who, is very dangerous, hand-to-hand combat, shooting, driving. He just was one of the, best, CIA, operatives that went and, did business overseas and did some questionable moral things. And he's retired, trying to get close to his daughter. And then his daughter gets kidnapped, hence the Taken. And you get the best phone acting scene of all time. Liam Neeson is the best phone actor of all time. I think he should get an honorary Oscar for how he acts on a phone. Because I've seen other movies where he's talking to someone on the phone. He does a really good job when he's talking to people on the phone. So it's like a special thing of his, Liam Neeson. But I don't know who you are, but I have a certain set of skills. That whole line is so great. But really good action film. And Liam Neeson does a good job. He's a little bit older. I don't know how old he is in this movie, but I'm sure he's in his 50s at least, late 50s maybe. But he's really believable as like this action guy who can take out all these people, and whether hand-to-hand combat, shooting. And Liam Neeson's such a good actor, and he's so tense in those situations that he really gives a lot to this character, and he even gives a lot of emotions to the character. It's really, I think, a really good acting. I love the fact that he's like, you have action stars, and then you have really good actors that you can put into the action movies and actually makes the movie better because the performances are so good. So I love that they're doing that more and more now, where it's like we're not just going to get Arnold Schwarzenegger. No offense, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we're not just going to get a big muscled guy to play the action movie, but we're going to get just a really good actor and then kind of teach him how to do action, and it kind of makes the movie better. And I think this kind of started that. I feel like when I saw Taken, I was like, wow, this is such a great action movie and you have a guy that's kind of older, and then after that, I feel like we got a bunch more with like Equalizer and John Wick series, and there's been some other ones where it's like we're gonna take people in their 50s and 60s and make them look good as an action star and do a really good job. So I really like that, and I love the fact that the character, like, it's his daughter, so he's like, he doesn't play nice. Like a lot of times you get action movies maybe, and they're trying to whatever they're doing, and they don't shoot unarmed people or they don't torture people to get information. Well, I love this guy because he's like, he's going to kill everybody in his path. If they're armed, unarmed, he doesn't care. Everybody's guilty in his eyes, I think. And it's like, I'm going to kill everybody that had anything to do with my daughter's kidnapping because I'm going to get my daughter back no matter what it takes. And I love that attitude of, I'm going to do everything I can to get my daughter back. And again, he says, because he's in France, and he's like, I would pull down the Eiffel Tower if that would get my daughter back, and he even shoots innocent people. So there's a scene where he shoots an kind of somewhat innocent person. Well, yeah, he does. Shoots a totally innocent person to get what he wants. I mean, it's morally, I'd say in real life you shouldn't do that. It's morally probably not a good thing. But yeah, I love that he'll do that just to get what he wants. And he tortures a guy in one scene, which I'm like, you shouldn't torture somebody, but because it's a movie, I'm like, yeah, torture this guy to get what you want. I'm totally for that. Anyway, so I just kind of love that whole attitude of the movie that you don't get in a lot of other movies. All right, that was 2008. So the last movie I'm going to talk about, favorite movie 2009, is another comedy, romantic comedy. I don't do a lot of romantic comedies, I guess. But this was a really well done one. It's called 500 Days of Summer. Again, I probably should have written down the names, but it's basically two main actors. Zooey Deschanel is the actress who's really good in the movie, kind of a comedy, quirky type actress. And now I'm forgetting the guy in it because I didn't write it down, but he's really good. And it's called 500 Days Summer, and it's such an interesting look at romantic comedies. It's done so much different. Editing-wise, it's really fun, the way they edit it. They go back and forth through this relationship with this girl named Summer. And this guy has a relationship with her, and we see it not in chronological order. We see like one scene will be after their breakup, but then another scene will be before they get together. And so you see the relationship as it goes back and forth in non-chronological order, which I thought was a really interesting way and a new, fresh way to tell a story of a romantic relationship. And 500 Days is not about them being together for 500 days. Actually, it's about between the time that they start the relationship to the time when he finally kind of gets over the relationship. So it's after they break up. The story keeps going after they break up because he's still not over the relationship. And so the 500 days is him finally getting closure over that relationship, which is something very important in any relationship, because I feel, and that's why it hits me kind of in an emotional way, because I've had relationships like that where I've had bad breakups and it took me a long time to get over it and to bring closure to it, and once you do, it frees you, because it's like this weight on your back that you can't get over, and just ruins your life, the bitterness that you have in your life. And so to get rid of that and get rid of the bitterness and get over that relationship and try to start anew with somebody else, it's very important, very hard to do. And so I think the movie does a really good job with that, showing how, and really shows like how great it is when you're in love with somebody and all the intimacies that you get with that. And then it shows the really heartbreak of after you get broken up, and how kind of depressing it is. And it kind of over exaggerates, but I think to a point where it's kind of true, because you do feel really bad after a breakup. And so I love how it plays both those sides so well, and kind of really shows like really how a relationship begins and ends, and how you get over it. Anyway, so and it's very funny, very well done movie. Anyways, and they do a lot of meta stuff, or they do a lot of almost I would say fourth wall breaking stuff, and they do some parody stuff here and there. And so I love the way that just the editing is so amazingly done. It makes it a really unique romantic comedy, and I highly recommend it, even if you don't like romantic comedies. I think it's a really good movie to watch. That's 500 Days of Summer. Favorite movie of 2009, so that ends my 2000s. Favorite movie every year, so feel free to comment on what is your favorite movie of these years, or do you like the movies I mentioned, or you don't like them? Am I off? Whatever. I love to read the comments, love to comment back on them, and love to have that dialogue. And just thank you for liking this video and for watching it, and just thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.